You got it? All right. Hey, well, welcome everybody here tonight. I'm looking forward to what the Lord's going to do here this evening, fellas. Go ahead and get that thing started. We need to get going there. I want to welcome everybody, especially by live, if you will. Go ahead and like this. Bring it on, bring it on. Well, it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Well, it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Well, it's not my father, not my mother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Well, it's not my sister, not my brother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Well, it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Well, it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Well, it's not my father, not my mother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Well, it's not my sister, not my brother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Well, it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Standing in the need of prayer. Amen. Let's give the Lord a hand clap of praise and thanksgiving. Amen. Look at everybody here tonight looking forward to what the Lord's going to do. You said, Brother Danny, you just got them doing that song here just the other day for Father's Day. Well, I realize that. And the reason is because what's interesting is I'm going right back to the fathers, if you will, in my message tonight. Even though it's faith's temptation, we're going to find out the idea. You need to quit blaming it on your father. You need to quit blaming it on your mother. You need to quit blaming it on your brother and on your sister and all the way down the line as far as they go. Look at your neighbor and say, quit blaming somebody else. Quit blaming. And look at your neighbor on the other side and say, it's you, oh Lord. Okay. All right. This song here is called "It's a Great Day Coming." How many knows the idea that there's only it's either sinners or saints? You got to ask yourself the question, what you gonna be? Because that's what it's gonna be. One of these days when you stand before the Lord, talk about there's a great day coming. Let's sing that song with you. What you got to do? Crank it up, bring it on up, fill the room, if you will. Don't hurt nobody. So there's a great day coming. There's a great day coming. A great day coming. There's a great day coming by and by. When the saints and sinners shall be parted right and left. Are you ready for that day to come? Well, now, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready for the judgment day? Well, are you ready? Are you ready for the judgment day? Through there's a bright day coming, a bright day coming, there's a bright day coming by and by. But this brightness shall only come to them that love the Lord. Are you ready for that day to come? Well, now, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready for the judgment day? Well, are you ready? Are you ready for the judgment day? Through there's a sad day coming, a sad day coming, there's a sad day coming by and by. When the sinners shall hear his booming heart, I know you not. Are you ready for that day to come? Well, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready for the judgment day? Well, are you ready? Are you ready for the judgment day? Amen. Let's move forward. Everybody here today. Looking forward to what the Lord's going to do here. And going to do a song we haven't done in a little while. It's called "Give Me That Old Time Religion." And the reason is because, I don't know about you, but we need to go back to that old time religion. This modern day nonsense it is, in other words, that I see in American Christianity is a poor, pathetic, in other words, substitute, if you will, in other words, for the real thing. And the reason is, in other words, we need to go back to that old-time religion. I know some people don't like the word religion, but it is found in the Bible.
That's right.
Some people, in other words, have got a problem with religion. Well, what's interesting is, if you look at your dictionary, and you've got a problem with, in other words, the definition of religion, then I got a problem with you. I got a problem, if you will, with the idea that somewhere along the line, there's nothing wrong with that word religion.
That's right.
When somebody says, I'm not religious, as far as that goes, I got a problem with that. If you look up the definition of religious, that's exactly what you want to be. Committed, devout, and I can just go on and on and on. Look up the definition, if you will. So, how many knows we need to go back to the old time? Jeremiah 6:16 tells us to look for the old paths. Come on, not the new paths. New paths is way too wide, way too broad, and many be which go in thereat in destruction. Because straight's the gate, narrow's the way. That can take us to our old time. If we go. I don't know about old time Free Will Baptists is what it is we need to go to. Is the idea about what the old timers used to believe. Look at your neighbor and say, we need the old timers. Look at your neighbor on the other side and say, we need both of them. Okay, hit it when you got it. Hit it when you got it. Stop. Okay, now go ahead and start it again. Okay, and help me. Is this supposed to start off on the chorus? No, it starts off on a verse. Give me a first verse then. We'll see how that one works. Give me the first one. Okay, makes me live. No? Let's try this. Okay. Well, you're all right. Hit it. We got to change it though as soon as we get through it. Hit it. We need to put them there. That's what we need to do. Amen. Let's give the Lord a hand clap. Go ahead. Give my next one. Put that next one up there, whether we like it or not. Okay, how many knows the idea? Hold it. Hold it. How many knows the idea that the devil's going to try to move you? Come on. Yeah. The devil's going to try to move you.
Amen.
You tell the devil, Lord, say, devil, I'm not going to be moved. I'm not going to be moved. No. Matter of fact, there's some people, my friend, going to try to move you. And the best thing to do is say, I'm not going to move. Can you imagine, in other words, your daddy trying to move you, your mama trying to move you, your brother trying to move you, your sister trying to move you? The best thing to do is just tell them, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to move. Boy, hit it when you got it there. Hit it, hey, you guys talk about it later on. Okay, hit it when you got it there. Help us. I shall not be moved. Evangelism right now, unless, in other words, you might be able to go to somebody that, in other words, that you might believe it is would receive a visit, in other words, from you. Now, that's a possibility, not necessarily. I think Brother Wallen was telling about somebody said something about coming by and seeing them as far as they go. So that's a perfect opportunity to be able to go and visit them. Also, pray tomorrow we're going to be visiting some folks that came here, I think Sunday morning and Sunday night. They live in Bakersfield. We're going to be visiting them, following them up tomorrow night. Also, pray for them. They're traveling a great distance, if you will. And so we appreciate the urge praying for those visits that we're going to have be able to see those folks, okay? Friday, we don't have anything. Saturday, of course, there's our 10 o'clock visitation. There's just visitation of all kinds of general kinds of visitation. Actually, again, we're really focusing on the prospects. Minimum prospects, and we're trying to get those taken care of and let them know that the doors are back open again. Still, people don't know that it's we're open as of yet. They need to know this, and they'll hang a flyer, if you will, tell them that, and those in a track will give up and go to think about them praying for them and want them to come just as soon as they get a chance to. as far as that goes. Okay. Also, the prayer meeting number 7 o'clock Saturday night. We're going to the Lord in prayer. Numbers as a congregation, if you will. Still having it numbers on live Facebook. So if you would, appreciate you praying for that. Also, prayer requests it is we're having. Our prayer request numbers what have are lasting a little bit longer than what it normally does. Usually we're through about 20 minutes after 7. It's already going all the way, if you will, up to numbers 15 minutes to 8 o'clock. We've actually went 15 minutes after 8. So if you would appreciate you praying for that. You say, well, what do you think the thing of this? I think a spirit of prayer has hit numbers our folks. And we've got a care and a concern numbers about numbers of lost in our community. Those it is numbers that stand in need. So we need to keep them in prayer. If you know that, say amen. Also, just a little bit more. We're still trying to make folks know we have a shout out. We're still trying to do our special services. We've got the face masks, the gloves. We've got the hand sanitizer, the gloves. Like I said, the wipes, just different things like that. When people come in, we're let them know that we're still trying to do the distancing, if you will. We're trying to do this thing in a special way. Also, our giving, we're not passing around a plate or a bag like we normally do. So the giving, if you will, is our tithes and offering box is right there in front of the sound booths right now. But as soon as the service is over with, there's where it is. And we're going to move it back to by the door there. And so that way, as you go out, you can go ahead and give the tithes and offerings there. So would appreciate that. Okay. I believe that is all we do have for right now. Pray for Brother Paul, Sister Amy. They're off on kind of a vacation. He's going to go see his mom. And I think it is Idaho or something like that. Pray for them traveling mercies. If you would appreciate that. I think that's all it is. I got somebody to think of something else. Oh, there's one lady in numbers is right now that she's like on a hospice situation, and she's been giving a heavy dose of drugs, and we're trying to wait for her to kind of wake up. And there's where it is what they're going to do. The nurse or something like that is going to give our relatives going to give us a call. And hopefully, in other words, I can be able to talk to her, maybe in other words, deal with her along that line. Also, pray for Brandon. I guess they took him to urgent care or emergency room right now. Possibly they think in other words it's an appendix. Hopefully, in other words, it's something along those lines. So if you would. And also, there was
Chris Billner's grandson.
Chris Billner's grandson.
He's 13 years old.
13 years old.
Cancer.
A case of cancer, if you will. Be in prayer, numbers for him, if you would please. We appreciate that, okay? I believe that's all these numbers we do have, unless I'm missing something else.
There's some apples in the back, so if anybody wants that, I can help them.
Okay, we got some apples in the back there. Okay, all right, there's a little bit of dessert. I'll pray for Matthew also. Matthew, his figure was managed, and it's going to look pretty bad. So if you would, appreciate you praying for him also. Okay, I believe that's all that we do have along that line. So we're going to go ahead and have a video right quick for you to be able to listen to. Again, remember it was a Father's Day video. We just had too many videos, too many songs, just too much going on. In other words, their Father's Day. So if you would, we're going to play this simply because of the thought and the idea. We're going to continue with the Father, if you will, his influence, in other words, on the home. We're going to be taking a look at a special some verses, if you will, in the book of Ezekiel, chapter number 18, jumping off of James, chapter 1, where we've been at. So if you would appreciate you giving a listen at this time, if you would, and it will take us a little bit further on down the road. Okay, if you would, appreciate it.
Take your life.
illustration, especially in the idea about correction, how in other words that we ought to be like our Heavenly Father. If you know that, say amen. We're going to go ahead and go right into our special. So let's go ahead, let's get that ready. Sister Emily's going to give us our special here. I'm not sure where she's at. Wave at me. Okay, all right, just hang on. We're going to go ahead and dismiss right now. If the kids it is that want to go to class, if you would, we're going to go ahead and meet in the back. And those of us that are teachers in our church and substitute teachers, if you'd like to help out, if you would, just go ahead, come on back there and help us out. If you would, please, we appreciate that. Give me out, Brother Juan. Why don't you go ahead and go back there and help us do this situation out. If you would, the teams can go ahead and be dismissed also. Brother Juan has got the teams for the night and come help us kind of give you out this evening. If you would, please, would appreciate that. Make sure you keep your social distancing in order to keep them back there. Also, Brother Juan, don't let while the special is going on, everybody needs to stay back there, or if you're going to dismiss out. The teacher that does for the smaller class, instead of walking through during the special, make them go ahead and stay back there. They can take roll, they can do whatever they want to do back there. Take prayer requests, if you would appreciate that. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead, let's get ready if you would, and let's give Sister Emily a hand if you would. Let's go ahead. chapter number 1, if you would please. We appreciate you turning there. We're going to take a little bit more of a look, if you will, at the idea about those faith temptations. Would you go ahead and start, Maya? Neil, if you would. I know everybody wants to make sure it is right on time here. We'll go to James chapter, speaking back. James chapter number 1, if you would please. Take a look at verse number 13. We'll take a look at faith's temptation. I'm just going to hit a couple of thoughts right quickly we have to take a look at so far. We're going to go a little bit further down the road there. Notice, if you will, the Bible says, let no man say that when he's tempted, I am tempted of God. Can you imagine, in other words, they might be able to say something along that line. He said, the verse for, that I'm tempted, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. And then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Do not err, my beloved brethren. Let's go to the Lord in prayer tonight. Let's just ask God to bless you. Father, we come to you now, Lord, in the precious name of Jesus, asking you, Father, right now, to touch the hearts, minds, and the minds of these that are gathered here once again, Father, in this room. And Lord, those that are hearing, Lord, by live telecast right now, and also, Lord, that will hear on YouTube later on. And I pray, Father, right now you touch these lives. I pray that you would. Lord, we pray, Father, right now that your word will go forth with power, will accomplish that which it is that you've intended. Lord, we love you today. Thank you. We praise you, Lord, for this time we come together. Ask you to bless. We pray that you would the reading of your word, the preaching of your word tonight. Lord, speak to me and through me tonight, Lord, that these is in mine ear. And ask all the precious name of Jesus and for a sacred prayer tonight. And all of God's people said amen and amen. Notice, if you will, a little bit further. You say, well, what is the point of all this preaching? Just a little bit of an introduction. We've already went through the idea that the book of James is one of the first books written in the first century, had some problems with trials. That was our first series that we did. They didn't know how to handle trials. Immediately they found themselves failing something fierce. They were under the gun. They found themselves, in other words, with now we're going to take a look at the words. They had a problem with temptation and where it came from and how they were going to handle that. The meaning of temptation changes here. It goes from the idea about, now takes on an evil meaning, if you will. It's no longer trial, testing, and trouble, tribulation, trauma, and tragedy. It's no longer that. And by the way, that's going to come in the life of a believer. It most assuredly is. And the reason is because this is the old sinful world. You know that saying there. This is a world, I guarantee you, that ought to be against us in every way, shape, form, and fashion. And if it's not, that just shows you how worldly it is that you might be. Notice, if you will, the tribulation, trauma, and tragedy. But of course, now it moves. Now temptation is trespass. It's the idea about dealing with sin. It's about transgression. The known will of God, the transgression of the law of God. It's treachery. That's where we find it's traitors, like Judas, if you will. Their word is, he found himself, if you will, finding himself, in the verse, drawn away of his own lust, like we just got through talking about. You say, well, the Bible talks about, in other words, the devil was in on that whole situation. Yeah, he was, but it didn't force him to do anything. He might have tempted him, if you will. He might have suggested some things to him. But the idea about forcing him, no such thing. None whatsoever. And their word is, we kind of deal with it. The illustration about preachers and teachers and Christians that can constantly tell us that, in other words, you cannot live right. This is what James is writing about here. And when I say that, the idea, because if you don't think people are not blaming someone, something, on the idea of why it is if they can't live right, you're sadly mistaken. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at those and several things along that line. Notice, if you will, the source of faith's temptation. First of all, don't blame the Lord. But you realize that's exactly, it says, let no man say that when he's tempted, I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, and neither tempteth he any man. And with their word is, we use the illustration of Adam and Eve, and we're not going to turn back there by no stretch of the imagination, but I got a question at you. When all of a sudden, their word is that Adam and Eve sinned, who did they blame? Immediately when Adam was asked, the woman that thou gavest me. Isn't that what it says? That's an indirect idea. It's my wife's fault, and you're the one who gave me my wife. Then a little bit later on, if you will, notice how they blamed everybody. But you say, well, what they did, that the way it goes? The answer is not at all. When all of a sudden we find Job, he blames nobody. Yet though clearly we see that Satan, my friend, is behind the temptation and the trouble, the trials, the trauma, the tragedy, my friend, that happened in his life. There's no getting around that. But notice, if you will, that he's perfect and upright man. And by the way, that being like the verse it is, Job was, will give you the ability, my friend, quit trying to blame somebody and put, in other words, the idea of this thing back exactly like it's supposed to be, or where the problem lies, where it lies at. And then Satan answered, in other words, he said, listen, Job, he doesn't fear you for nothing. You put a hedge about him, but you let that hedge down, and you let me touch, in other words, his finances, his family, and what have you, and he will cuss you to your face. Well, is that what happened? Not at all. Matter of fact, it makes a statement. It says in the verse that he fell on the ground and worshiped. Naked I came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. It says the Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. It says, blessed be the name of the Lord. And it says, in all this, it says, in all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. That's what I'm trying to get to. People, my friend, have got to, in other words, quit sinning, if you will, and quit trying to blame somebody. And by the way, you do realize if anybody had a reason to blame the devil, would it have been Job? Come on, would it have been Job? And then blame his wife later on in chapter number 2, when she says, why don't you just cuss God and die? Come on. But no, that's not what happened. As a matter of fact, it goes on, it makes a statement. It says, in all that, when his wife said that, once you just cuss God and die, he makes a statement. He says, and in all this, did not Job sin with his, it didn't even come out of his mouth, let alone anything else. That's something we got to grab a hold of. Job didn't blame nobody. See, that's the way that we got to get to. That's why the Bible talks about how things are. Now, don't blame the Lord, but you know what you do need to blame? You need to blame your lusts, your desires, your, if you will, your appetites and such and what have you. That's why it says in verse 14, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own. The word lust there just simply means desires. Basic desires. Now, I'm not going to go through this tonight, but I'm going to show you the verse in several of the messages down the road that there's not one desire you have that cannot be satisfied, if you will, godly-wise, or in other words, rightfully and properly. I'll show you every emotion, every appetite, every desire you have, every emotion you have can be satisfied, if you will, in other words, rightfully and properly. So we'll work on that. That'll give you something to look forward to. He says he's drawn away of his own lust and what now? And enticed. Now, I got to hurry. I really do. I already see this thing is speeding away. And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. You do realize that all the angels were made perfect. Don't get around that. Matter of fact, don't blame it on the Almighty, the everlasting. Don't blame it on the accuser, the evil one. Don't blame it on the devil. And if we took a look at the illustration of Satan, which we did the last time we were together, the Bible makes a statement. It says, thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and it says, and I set thee so, thou wast upon the holy mountain of God, thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones, thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created, till, that's the point, till iniquity was found in him. What happened? He was drawn away of his own lusts and enticed. It happened, in other words, inside his own self. The point of what I'm trying to make is, who was the devil's devil? Right. Who was Satan's Satan? Right. There was none. Everybody around him was perfect, start to finish. There was not one angel, my friend, that had ever sinned. In heaven, my friend, you nail it down. Everybody was perfect, start to finish, in no uncertain terms. The problem came from within. And that's what happens when you have free will. To choose right or wrong. Good. Come on. And this idea about blaming it, in other words, on the Almighty, blaming it on the accuser, or blaming it on Adam, and that's where we're going to go to tonight, if you will, is nonsense. Utter and total nothing but nonsense. That's why nobody, does it seem like anybody wants to take responsibility for what they do? No, not at all. And that's exactly the way society's getting. But you know where they're taking their cue from? The church. Because as the church goes, so goes the nation. I mean, we're in a world of hurt as a nation. The reason is, we're in a world of hurt as a church, if you will, of the living God. Now, let me just go on a little bit. He says, until iniquity is found in thee. First, don't blame it on the Almighty, the everlasting one. Don't blame it on the accuser, the evil one. Don't blame it on Adam and Eve. The one, the first ones. Come on. Now, I want you to take a look at it. And the reason is because even Adam and Eve, my friend, were created perfect. Notice it says, God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Yeah. And that's talking about moral image, not physical, moral image. He goes on, let them have dominion over the fish, over the sea, the fowls of the air, over the cattle, and over all the earth, and all the every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female, created he them. How did he create them? Perfect. Put them in the Garden of Eden? Perfect. Right? Just showing you how this whole thing goes. Now, let me go on. As a matter of fact, in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 29 says, lo, this only have I found, that God hath made man out. Upright. He's upright. He said, but they have sought out many inventions. They've come up with stuff, I guarantee you. It's interesting, found in the book of Jeremiah. It's almost like that God never thought about doing it. Now, you know that's not true. But the phrase is in there in the book of Jeremiah. He said, makes a statement, when they started passing their kids through the fire and what have you on that line, sacrificing them, he said, that never even came into my mind. The Lord said that. Isn't that an interesting thought? Yeah. He's just trying to show you the verse how crazy that kind of nonsense is. To sacrifice over your own children. And other things also. Let me go on. I want you to turn, if you will, to the book of Ezekiel, chapter number 18, if you would. The book of Ezekiel, chapter number 18 tonight. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a passage of Scripture of where it is, in other words, the Israelites are actually trying to do just exactly what I talked about. And I want you to notice how the Lord answers this situation. The book of Ezekiel, chapter number 18. Notice it says, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, what mean ye that use this proverb concerning the land of Israel, saying, the fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. This is actually quoted in the book of Jeremiah, if you will, before this. It's quoted, in other words, I think, one more time, I think somewhere along the line here in the book of Ezekiel. But now, I find it interesting, I really do. So what does that mean? Well, here's what it means, in other words, if you want to know literally. It means the idea, and I was actually going to have Brother Juan, in other words, his boy, Santana, come on up here. I was going to have Brother Juan eat some grapes. And it could happen. And I was going to ask Santana, how'd that taste? Well, he said, well, that'd be dumb. Yeah, it's just as dumb as these guys right here. And what he's talking about, his teeth are set on edge. You do realize whenever you eat something like vinegar or if you ever put vinegar in your mouth like that, and how it affects, in other words, your teeth are set on edge. It takes all that protective slime off of your teeth. Just kidding, folks, man. Lighten up. Just take it easy. No drinking in here. Now, if you don't think, in other words, that's exactly what it's talking about. Is the idea right there. The grapes, in other words, are so sour. Has anybody ever been into something real sour? Did your children go, ooh, that was terrible? Nope. No. And the reason is that's nonsense, isn't it? How in the world, in other words, can the taste, if you will, of others one go on with the other? Same thing with the idea, come on. The same thing is the idea about, in other words, the sin, if you will, of a father. How in the world is that going to affect, if you will, the son? Now, we're not talking about the idea of the example. Certainly they can do that way. But the idea that that son has got to do, in other words, what it is that father did is nonsense, utter and total, nothing but nonsense. Right. But they're using that proverb. Here's the reason why. They're sitting there, they're suffering, if you will, under a 70-year captivity. And they're blaming it on their fathers. We're sitting here in captivity. We're going through, in other words, an awful time as far as that goes. And we're doing this because it is, we're suffering for the sins of our fathers. Well, God won't let them know that's not the truth.
Right.
You're not suffering for the sins of your fathers. As a matter of fact, in other words, if you live right and do right as far as that goes, you'd be just fine. So I'm setting this thing up. Now let's walk through this thing right quick. He gives us some illustrations, if you will, in and around this whole thing. We're just going to kind of walk it down, in other words, if you will. In verse number 3 says, "As I live, saith the Lord, ye shall not have occasion anymore to use this proverb in Israel." He said, you can stop that nonsense and quit blaming it, if you will, in other words, on somebody else. Quit blaming it on your fathers. Quit blaming it on your mothers. Quit blaming it on, my friend, those it is that have gone on before you. Stop it.
Good.
And the reason is because here's how it goes. He unfolds it. He said, all souls are mine. As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. He's making a mistake of the idea that it's personal responsibility. This trying to pass off the idea that somehow or another, because it is that because I'm Irish, because it is that I'm Irish, I've got a bad temper. How many know that's nonsense? It most assuredly is. It's got nothing to do with your ethnicity. By no stretch of the imagination. And this thing about, in other words, this lack of passion and what have you along that line. Hey, how many knows that's not the way this thing goes. It's not because what kind you are. It's not. This is crazy. It's the idea about, well, let me speak on. It says, if a man be just and do that which is lawful and right, well, that's an interesting thought. You mean there is such a thing? And hath not eaten upon the mountains, and neither hath lifted up his eyes unto the idols of Israel. Now, I need to apply this to the New Testament, because some of you are going to sit there and say, I don't know what the world he's talking about eating upon the mountains. He's talking about eating others' food sacrificed to idols. And that means the idea about others, they're a stumbling block. And that's what the book of Romans chapter 14 talks about. Also 1 Corinthians chapter 8, chapter 10, and what have you on that line. The idea about being a stumbling block, eating meats sacrificed to idols. Certainly was the idea that they were worshiping the idols, but nonetheless, though, I got to go back to the idea. It even goes back to the idea that whenever you can eat meat sacrificed to idols, if you don't ask no questions, and you just do, in other words, what you're supposed to be doing, what you're invited to, or buy, or something along that line, somewhere along that line. But the idea that as soon as you find out it's been sacrificed to idols, you're supposed to abstain from that. If you don't, you end up being a stumbling block to people, and people are going to end up dying and going to hell.
Right.
So there's the application of the New Testament for everybody sitting here in the room right now. As a matter of fact, what's interesting is, it's not only the idea about eating meats sacrificed to idols, it's also talked about the idea about social drinking.
Right.
He uses that in the book of Romans chapter number 14, the last several verses. He said, you want to socially drink? He said, that's a stumbling block to folks. Now, I don't know about you, but how many of you knows when folks start posting stuff that was on social media to the point where it is, my friend, they're showing that they're socially drinking and what have your drinking period, whether it's socially or not like that. How many of you knows that's a stumbling block to folks?
Right.
If y'all know that, say amen.
Amen.
Oh, there's no getting around that. This is nonsense. Utter and total nothing but nonsense. Come on. And to think that they're the children of the people of God, that's crazy. The stumbling blocks. And this is one of the words he's dealing with here. Has lifted up his eyes to idols. And when he's talking about the, see, we don't have to worry about idols when it comes to Baptists. No, in other words, not the idea about carving them out or having some kind of a place where it is that they fall down and worship or bow down or pray or something like that. Yes, Baptists, we do a little bit differently. You say, how do you do that? I'll explain to you in a minute. Or the idea about having pictures or something along that line. You say pictures can be idols also? Yeah, the scriptures talks about pictures that are along that line. Look it up, if you will. So, a little bit further, also make sure you put it all in context too, if you will. Then it's got to go back to the idea, we say, well, where's the Baptist idolatry? Well, the Bible says there's covetousness, Paul says, which is idolatry. There's where Baptists do real good at it. And the idea about being covetous after other people's possessions, come on. The idea about, in other words, I got to have this, I got to have that, I got to have more, I got to have thus and such and so and so. And every toy that comes down the stinking pike. You're covetous. That's what you are. And by the way, if you're not paying your tithes and stuff on that line, you're covetous, just in case you're wondering. You most assuredly are. That means the idea that you're wanting somebody else's possession, my friend, and have no business to it. You say, well, how do you know that? Because that's exactly what that happened in the Old Testament when it was talking about Achan, if you will. There's where it is. He's snatching up, my friend, what was the Lord's. He said, I coveted that silver. I coveted those shekels. I coveted that shirt. And ended up, my friend, this whole family dying. I may get to that a little bit later on. He said, the eyes of the idols. Neither have defiled his neighbor's wife. That means the idea that they're talking about the idea of an adulterer. To put it in a New Testament situation right quick. How about the idea that whosoever looketh upon a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery already in his heart, and is in danger of hellfire, just in case you're wondering. As a matter of fact, it says if that's the way it is, you'd be better off. And by the way, those it is, in other words, that cannot control themselves when it comes to sin, because that's what we're talking about. The best thing to do is just pluck your eye out, if that will help, which it probably wouldn't, unless it just reminds you, in other words, the word is that you've been, or whatever. Cut your hand off, cut your foot off. It's better to enter into, if you will, into heaven maimed than into hell whole. That's what the Lord Jesus Christ taught in the verse of the book of Matthew, chapter number 5. Just in case, in other words, we're wondering where does it I get that? He said, neither have come near to a menstruous woman. That's an interesting thought. That's found in the book of Leviticus, I believe. Now, Leviticus 18:19. Love how that thing does that. Leviticus chapter 18. You say, well, what does it deal with that? Well, I personally believe it's a health issue, not only for the individuals, if you will, but also the possibility that there's for the child that may be conceived during that time. I mean, if God doesn't put nothing in the Bible, my friend, that there was needful. Can I talk about this just for a second? Only in this context, right quick. See, the Lord actually, my friend, wants to be such a part of your life. He even wants to be in the idea of whenever it is, in other words, you actually have intimate relationship with one another. Well, isn't that interesting? Yeah. He also wants to tell you what to eat. He also wants to tell you, my friend, what kind of clothing to wear, how long it's supposed to be, and everything else along that line. Has anybody ever read the Old Testament? Does this seem like, in other words, the Lord just wants to be up in your business quite a bit? If anybody's realized that, say amen. You want to know why? That's how much he loves you. He ain't changed his mind in the New Testament either, just in case you're wondering. He's not changed his mind. He still wants you to be just as near and dear, in the verse 2 to you, wants to be a part of every part of your life. Let me go on. You neither have come near to a menstruous woman. I just thought I'd use that. It said, give me a good opportunity. And have not oppressed any. And there's the idea that there's where it is, in other words, your business. How do you conduct business? You've not oppressed any. Restored to the debt of the pledge, if you will. In other words, if somebody hawks something to you like that, what happens? You make sure you give it back to them. If they hawk it to you, in other words, early in the morning, and it's hot all day long, and starts getting cold at night, make sure you give them that coat back before the day goes down. Come on. He said, or hath swollen any none by violence, have given bread to the hungry, and covered the naked with a garment. How many of you know that's Matthew chapter 25, verse 35? You all know that. Say amen. So if you're looking for a New Testament application of what I'm talking about, here's where it is that it's at. And there's where it is it's talking about. In other words, this is a righteous, a just individual. And let me go a little bit further. He hath not given forth, in other words, upon usury. You don't sit there and say, well, I'll loan you the money. In other words, you're going to have to pay back a high percentage like that. Have taken any increase and have withdrawn his hand from, what does it say? Whenever you see, in other words, your hand going towards iniquity, what should you do by that verse? What should you do? Draw it back. Don't do it. Don't do it. Look at your neighbor and say, don't do it. Look at your neighbor on the other side. Get that hand back here. Don't be doing that. He said, hath executed true judgment between man and man, and hath walked upwards in my statutes, hath kept my judgments, to deal truly. He is just, he is true, he shall surely live, saith the Lord God. I mean, knows that's the individual, my friend, is the Lord you want to be around. That's the individual, my friends, are going to end up one of these days, my friend, going to end up going to heaven. Somebody ought to say amen. But notice if you will, he makes a statement there. He says, but if he beget a son that is a robber and a shedder of blood, and that doeth the like unto any one of these things, and he's going to go ahead and he's going to unfold this. Now, listen to me very carefully. I think this is something you've got to grab a hold of. That means the idea that you can live right, you can do right, just like the guy that he just got through talking about, and you can end up having a son, if you will, that ends up being a robber, a thief, a shedder of blood, and that doeth like unto any one of these things. You say, well, what happened? Well, the idea, you've still got a free will. So, I don't know why it is that people don't get this. Right. It just amazes me why people don't get this. You say, well, what's the point of living right? Oh, I don't know. Because you should. Because you could. And by the way, you realize the only way that your children are ever going to end up right is to live right. Come on. It's the idea, well, it just seemed like it ain't doing no good, so I'm going to stop. Well, I got a problem with what he was doing to begin with. Could it be the idea that you was doing it hypocritically for the wrong reason? And by the way, if you don't think your children are going to find out that, my friend, you're sadly mistaken. They're going to know you're a hypocrite in a heartbeat before anybody else does. Just in case, in other words, you're wondering about that. I'm just making a statement. That's the way it goes. And you say, well, I mean, can you give us an illustration? Sure, I can. How many of you knows the idea that you take, for example, Hezekiah? Hezekiah was a great king, if you will. And therefore it is he brought forth a fellow by the name of Manasseh, one of the most ungodliest individuals you could ever imagine you ever loved in life. You say, well, what happened? Manasseh had a free will. Even though he had a good godly example with his father as far as that goes, you do realize it didn't make any difference. How many of you know the Lord Jesus Christ was raised up, in other words, in a home with Mary, in other words, and those other brothers and sisters? My Bible tells me, and listen to me very carefully, my Bible tells me in the book of John chapter 7 verse 35, I believe it is, it says his own brethren didn't believe in him. How much more of a good example you want of being the Lord, raised up in the Lord Jesus Christ for 30 some odd years? We've got to understand how this thing goes. People are drawn away by their own lust and enticed. And then when lust hath conceived, they bring it forth sin, sin when it's finished. Let me go on. If you beget a son that is a robber, shedder of blood, that doeth any of these duties, that he doeth not any of these duties, but even hath eaten upon the mountains. And now this is going to go back through the same thing we just went through that we're not going to go back through as far as that goes. He hath oppressed the poor, the needy, spoiled by violence, restored others the plagues, hath not restored, hath lifted up his eyes to the idols, committed abomination, given forth to usury. I mean, all these ungodly things. It says, he shall surely die. And notice what it says, and his blood shall be upon who? Him, not them. Right. Upon him, not them. Now, how many of you know the idea? They said, well, have you got a New Testament, in other words, application? Yeah, this blood being upon it. Let me just go on right quick. It says, now, lo, if he, talking about the one that is ungodly right there, beget a son that seeth all his father's sins, which he hath done, and considereth, that means keeps considering, and doeth not such like. You mean to tell me an ungodly father can end up having a godly son? Why, sure. Matter of fact, would you guys like to see an illustration of that family? In other words, just like in one place, if you would say amen. I punched the wrong button. Well, let's just take a look at 1 Kings chapter number 15, if you will. The Bible says, now in the 18th year of King Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, reigned Abijam over Judah. We're looking at Abijam. How was he? 3 years he reigned in Jerusalem. His mother's name was, let's just call her Nabal, and the daughter of Abishalom. I can do that one. And he walked in all the sins of his fathers, which he had done before him, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father. How do you know the Lord was looking for somebody with a perfect heart? Okay. So, nevertheless, for David's sake, he did the Lord, in other words, his God, give him a lamb in Jerusalem to set up his son after him. Because you know what? The Lord, in other words, knows the next one coming is going to do right. He says to establish Jerusalem. Because David did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord and turned not aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life, save only in the matter of Uriah the Hittite. See, he didn't let that slide, did he? Right. Or went ahead and told it off on him anyway. Come on. But he said, other than that right there, he said, there was David, the verse, did that which is what he's supposed to. And there was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all the days of his life. Now the rest of the acts of Elijah, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of Chronicles and of the kings of Judah? And there was war between Elijah and Jeroboam. And Elijah slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David. And Asa, now we're going to take a look at Asa. His son reigned in his stead. This is his son. And in the 20th year of Jeroboam, the king of Israel, reigned Asa over Judah. And 41 years reigned he in Jerusalem. That's a long reign. And his mother's name was, we'll call her Mabel too, the daughter of Elisha. It says, and Asa did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, as did David his father. Now watch this. He took away the Sodomites out of the land. I mean, knows the idea that he was wanting reform to be brought about. Yeah. Come on. Amen. He said, this is what it's going to take. Get out of here. He said, out of the land, he removed all the idols that his father had made. I mean, he knows his father was an idolater, just like what we talked about. And also Mabel, his mother, even her he removed from being queen. What? What? You mean that he set Mama down? Yeah. He told Mama, so Mama, you know what? He said, because you made an idol in the grove, I'm going to destroy your idol. Yeah. Now, we wouldn't do that because she's damned, right? Right? That's the problem. They got idols and what have you, and we just go along and just to get along. And you realize that ain't going to help nobody. It never has. It never will. Sure got quiet in here, didn't it? Matter of fact, I can see the looks on the face, and he's back after the family again. Well, so's the Bible. He says, and burn it by the brook Kidron. But the high places were not removed. Nevertheless, Asa's heart was, go ahead and say it. It'll hurt, I know. But go ahead and say it anyway. His heart was what? How long? Well, isn't that interesting? Huh. So you can have a bad daddy and turn around, in other words, and have a good son whose heart wasn't perfect, in other words, by no stretch of the imagination, walked in the sins, if you will, of all the ones that went on before him. And all of a sudden, here's Asa, right in the middle of this whole thing, my friend, living godly and bringing about revival, in other words, right in the midst of this whole situation. If you all see that, say amen. Just thought we'd just take a look at that. Let's go back to Ccli, if you will. We're coming down, in other words, to a couple of points here that I think is important. He talked about the idea of begetting a son that's a robber. And then all of a sudden he talks about begetting a son that's sin. He saw his father's sins and said, you know what? That's not right. That's not the way. That's not what I want to do. That's not how it is that I want to live. Now we know all of a sudden this son is seeing how it's supposed to be done. He considereth, and it says he doeth not such like. He's not eaten upon the mountains. And it's the same list. Can I just go, you see the list? It's the same list. He hath not defiled us, neither hath he oppressed, done nothing by violence. He has given bread to the hungry, covered the naked, if you will, and hath taken off his hand from the poor. And as for, and he says, and hath walked in the statutes, he says, he hath executed my judgments, hath walked in my statutes, he shall not die for the iniquity of his father, he shall surely, what's it say? He's going to live. And you do realize he's talking about living the words eternally. And talking about dying eternally, because how many know everybody's going to live, and everybody's going to die. So it's got to be talking about something that was past living and dying. It's got to be talking about the idea about living eternally or dying eternally. That's the context, just in case you wonder. For as his father, because he cruelly oppressed, spoiled his brother by violence, and did not do good among the people, he's going to die in his iniquity. How many knows you're going to split hell wide open? Yet you say, why doth not the Son bear the iniquity of the Father? And when the Son hath done that which is lawful and right, and hath kept all my statutes and done them, he shall surely live. He goes back to the same thing he said up there earlier, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. He said, those that is, my friend, that living in sin, that's who's going to end up dying. The Son shall not bear the iniquity of the Father, neither shall the Father bear the iniquity of the Son. The righteousness of the righteousness shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. Well, I find it interesting that there's that word righteousness again, isn't it? But I thought all of our righteousness was nothing but filthy rags. Isn't that what we've been hearing? Well, that's interesting. All of a sudden, righteousness is being brought about here, my friend, showing and proving the idea of somebody that's going to end up living, if you will, eternally. And the idea about wickedness, that's the opposite of it as far as that goes, going to end up dying eternally. But if the wicked shall turn from all of his sins, and how many knows the idea, aren't you glad you can get forgiven if you know that, say amen? And then keep my statutes and do them which is lawful and right, he shall surely live, and he shall, what does it say, not die. Aren't you glad the idea of the verse tonight? If you want to, you can come to an old-fashioned altar, come and do business with God, and every sin you've committed up to this point right now can be forgiven, come on, be forgotten, never to be remembered anymore. Now, if that ain't good, I don't know what is. Matter of fact, I find it amazing, my friend, so many people will turn right around and walk out those double doors, my friend, and that not happening in their life. There's something wrong. Something wrong. And could it be the idea that we're so deceived by, if you will, our own lust and enticed? You say to yourself, no, I want to live in that. And verse 22 says, and all his transgressions that he hath committed, they shall not be mentioned unto him, and in his righteousness that he hath done, he shall. There's that righteousness again, isn't it? See, somebody needs to, by the way, can I talk to the people apparently those that are not paying attention? We've always said, make sure it is the idea about looking up the context of anything it is I say. That's why I'm going through 32 verses tonight, so you can see the context. And then in turn, it goes back to the idea, you need to learn, get a concordance. If you don't know what it is, email me, text me, I'll get you one. Because you're going to need to look up words, like the word righteousness. Look at it completely through the New Testament, my friend, because that's the time we're living in. And you nail this thing down. It says, he that worketh righteousness is righteous. Just like he, talking about the Lord Jesus, is righteous. Come on. That's who's accepted, if you will, by the Lord. Somebody needs to do a word study. It's precept upon precept, line upon line. Here a little, there a little, everywhere a little. Okay, that's not the way the verse ends, but that's close enough. See, when you find words, you can find out what the words the Bible teaches about the subject, start to finish. Just in case somebody doesn't know how to study the Bible. The biggest problem is whenever somebody taught you how to not study the Bible. All his transgressions that he had committed shall not be mentioned unto him. In his righteousness that he had done, he shall live. Have I any pleasure that all of the wicked should die? Yeah, you Calvinists out there, you 5-point Calvinists out there, apparently, in other words, it says, should I have any pleasure that all of the wicked should die? Apparently, in other words, you believe your God does have pleasure in people that dies and goes to hell. Since he's the one that ordained them to go to heaven or to go to hell. I don't know about you, but you do realize, my friend, Calvinists, if you will, and I want you to understand who I'm talking to, the Calvinists out there. You realize that Calvinists believe that babies go to hell.
Right.
Yes. Babies that have never reached the age of accountability end up dying and going to hell. And there's a whole different view of how that happens. The ones that are not baptized, are baptized. We still got babies in hell. Not my God.
That's right.
My God actually uses babies, if you will, for an illustration of how to get right with God. Come on. Don't leave but a kid out there all by himself. Help him out a little bit. Come on, how many know that's good stuff? Amen. But you realize Calvinists believe, in other words, that there's kids, if you will, there's little bitty babies that are burning in hell right now. I don't know about you, but that's not the God it is that I serve. Yeah. No. Matter of fact, he uses in the illustrations, he said, want to know who the greatest in the kingdom is? Oh, I tell you who it is. But first of all, bring me to this little child that's under the age of accountability. Bring him right over here right quick, if you will. And as he brings him over here, he says, and by the way, except you be converted, who's he talking to? His disciples. He said, except ye be converted, he's talking to them. He said, and become as this little child, you're not going to go to heaven. You're not going to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Isn't that what he said? Just check it. Just check it. He said, suffer the little children to come unto me and forbid them not. Why? Theirs is the kingdom of God. Yeah. So I don't care what Calvin taught, in other words, and his disciples and what have you taught there afterwards. And if you need the references, what do you call that? References? I printed them out today. So just in case, in other words, you want that right quick. Okay? There's Calvinists out there. 5 point, 4, 3, 2, 1, or whatever. Nonetheless. Have I any pleasure, the Lord says, at all that the wicked should die? Apparently, if he ordained them, I guess he's getting pleasure out of it. Otherwise, why would he do it? I thought everything was created for his pleasure. He said, and not that he should return from his ways and live. Oh, so that's an option for us? But when the righteous turn away from his righteousness and commit iniquity and doeth according to all the abominations the wicked man doeth, shall he live? The answer is no. And all his righteousness that he hath done shall not be mentioned. Why should it? I don't think righteousness had anything to do with this situation, since they're all filthy rags, which is not the truth. Let me go on. In this trespass they had trespassed, and in his sin they had sinned, in them shall he die. That means, in other words, you can be right with God, get wrong with God, and you end up dying in your sin, you can end up split the hell wide open. Right. And by the way, the Jewish people, my friend, never knew of the idea about, in other words, this the father eating sour grapes, in other words, the idea that his children's teeth are set on the edge. They didn't believe that nonsense. This is just a group, my friend, that came up, in the midst of this whole thing. Let me hurry up. And he said, well, the Lord is not equal. The way he does things, the house of it, it's my ways are equal. It's your ways. When a righteous man then turn away from his righteousness and committeth iniquity and dieth in them, for his iniquity, he says, in that he had done, shall he die. This is how many knows, however you're living, if that's the way you die, that's the way you stay. Again, the wicked man turneth away from his wickedness, committeth, and he did that which is lawful and right. He shall save his soul alive. This is putting this back on somebody else, right? That's another one for y'all Calvinists right quick. It says he's going to save. That's right. Come on. Because he considereth and turneth away from his transgression, that he hath lived, he shall surely live, he shall not die. Yet the house of Israel say, the Lord's not equal. The house of Israel, are not my ways equal, are not your ways unequal. Now watch this. Therefore I judge you, O house of Israel, everyone according to his ways, saith the Lord, repent and turn, in other words, yourselves from all your transgression, so iniquity shall not be your ruin. Now watch this. Cast away all your transgressions whereby you have transgressed, and make you You mean God is telling them to make themselves a new heart? Well, you Calvinists, let me ask you a question. I didn't think, in other words, you could do that. Why is God asking, in other words, an individual to make, in other words, themselves a new heart? I thought God was supposed to make them a new heart. Hello? And then he asks a dumb question, if you believe, in other words, like a Calvinist does. For why will you die, O house of Israel? Well, apparently because you ordained it. So, there's the idea about taking things out of context right quick. I gave you about 31 verses right quick that you can put all the context you want to out of it. So, say, what is your point? You need to quit blaming people for your sin. Right. It's you. It's you and you alone. It ain't your daddy. It ain't your granddaddy. You can run this thing all the way back to Adam if you want to. It ain't him either. Not by no stretch of the imagination. You're going to give an account of your own self.
That's right.
Of everything it is, in other words, you've ever done, first of all. Come on. Everything it is, in other words, you've ever said. And everything it is you've ever thought. You'll give an account for it. And I guarantee you, whenever, my friend, you do that, you do realize you've got the ability and the responsibility, my friend, to make sure it is, in other words, that you do right, because you can, regardless of what anybody says and tries to blame it off on anything else, that you can, in other words, watch your mouth, because by your words you're going to be justified, and by your words you're going to be condemned. As a matter of fact, it makes it says, make the tree either good or make it evil. Make it one way or the other. There's only two thoughts, and out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth is going to speak, and you're going to be judged on that, because by your words you're going to be justified, by your words you're going to be condemned. And your thought life, as far as that goes, you do realize, my friend, there's where it is clear, and you say, well, I can't control my thought life. Sure you can. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 tells you you can bring every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. Every thought. Amen. When it comes to the book of Acts, chapter number 8, or where it is, in other words, that Simon Magus, if you will, decided he wanted power to be able to lay hands on them and give them the gift of the Holy Ghost. Peter made the statement, you need to repent. He said, you're the gall of bitterness and in the bond of iniquity. He made a clear-cut statement, if you will, and watch this. He made a clear-cut statement about the idea. He said, you need to pray God that he would forgive you of this thought. Thought. Not thoughts. Thought. And by the way, we're going to be doing a little thing here on our website that you suffer fools gladly. That's in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter number 11. So this thing about John Calvin, Charles Haddon Spurgeon, you ought to go on there and take a look at these people, what it is that they really believed as far as that goes. Right. Spurgeon actually believed there's going to be more people in heaven than there was going to be in hell. I have no idea where the world ever thought that was true. I got one verse to blow that thing to smithereens. Enter ye in at the straight gate. Come on. Because wide is the gate, broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many be which go into that. Because straight is the gate, narrow is the way that leads to life, and few be there that find it. Few! And so the other crazy things that he believed. You suffer fools gladly, bringing people into bondage. That's where we see a lot of Christians at today. Listening, if you will, my friend, to people they have no business listening to. Right. That don't believe right in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Right. Let's bow our heads. While I'm speaking the words of these, get that song, if you will, of invitation ready, so that we can play it immediately. Those of you who are listening to me right now by internet, if you will, live, and even later on like that, I really believe seriously what you ought to do is take the challenge. In other words, to get your Bible out and please read the context of every verse I ever, in other words, quote or read or anything else along that line. If you would appreciate that. That's what we always tell people, in other words, whenever they look at something as far as that goes. Make sure you look at the context, especially whenever it comes to the thought and the idea about a word study, which in other words you need to do a word study to figure out what it is that people believe, what the Bible teaches about the individual studies, like the word righteousness, the word perfect, if you will, the word sin, so the idea about sin not, and what have you on that line, which is on our website. Take a look at it. This idea about others not being able, in other words, to be able to live right, that's not true. You're blaming it on somebody else. You're trying to get the blame off of you. Those of you that are here tonight,